Welcome to the Rapid Fusion podcast.
The economics of warfare do not allow you to keep using that countermeasure to use on relatively cheap one-way attack drones.
We've got one that's $500 to $1,000 to make. Do you want the design? And we know it works because we're using it. The cheapening of the speed of being able to make something and making it cheaper and less materials is going to win out. It can be on the back of a lorry if it needs to be. It is one power connector and everything else is contained within it. Filament, pellet for fast extrusion, filament for detailed and fast printing, and then CNC for cutting, milling, drilling holes, whatever it might be. So you're covering a lot of bases.
The rate of change is phenomenal, right?
Within 12 hours, you could have a new vessel popping off the production line. Hi, welcome to Rapid Fusion's podcast, episode number 10. And we've got Matt Ducker in today.
Good afternoon.
We'll do this because you've never been on before.
I know,
I'm the only one who claps.
First time.
I'm the only one who does it, apparently, even though there is other people in the room. So introduce yourself, Matt. So, people will have seen you a little bit on our socials and stuff, but
yeah, we've put some posts out there.
You are quite active now. You're on the
So Matt Duckering, Jake's brought me in to head up the defence side of the business, which is growing quite quickly. Excited to be on board.
Yeah,
4 months in now, I think.
Is it 4 months? It's mad, isn't it? How quick months roll by.
Yeah. Although Brian did say to me the other day he thought I'd been here about a year.
Yeah, well, Brian sees time a little bit differently to everyone else. No, it does feel like that. I think because you've been in and out for a long, you've had probably a couple of years now, because Becca's would have been here 2 years.
Yeah.
You've probably been in and out for at least 18 months, 12 months. Sort of meeting everyone and seeing everyone, when you come to see her. So it probably does feel like a year, because it would have been.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah. So how are you finding everything? Month 4? Are we on month 4 or out of month 4? Roll into month 5? I don't know. Somewhere around that.
Yeah, we're around month 4, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's been really good. It's obviously a big step to go from a big prime to an SME, but it's exciting.
Yeah.
Feel a lot of empowerment.
Yeah. Well, we have to be, don't we?
Yeah.
I think it's always good to have that. You do get to a point as organisations grow where you lose the agility. I think is probably the best word. But we're not at that size, so I think all that red tape's probably gone now for you, which will be new and different. But also means you've got a lot more autonomy. You can get stuff done.
Yeah. And I think it's an interesting time, right? Because the UK MOD, well, a lot of defence organisations recognise the power of an SME, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we can move at pace, even the big primes are doing it, And if you look at some of the policy documents that have come out recently from the MOD, not only are they trying to make themselves easier to work with as a customer, but they're also encouraging the primes to leverage the power of the SMEs within their ecosystem. So, yeah, it's an exciting time to be here, I think.
Because the market's had a bit of a bump, hasn't it, with everything that's gone on. I think now we're in a sort of like transition period in the UK where we are starting to buy again. Probably fair to say that the MOD held their purse strings a little bit for a while. There's always budget, and they always have to, that budget always gets used. But in general, that reinvestment back into the new capabilities of the UK forces has now really officially started to happen. And I think there was a lot of talk of it for probably the last however long, but definitely now it seems like that's actually happening.
Yeah, I think the Defence Investment Plan, the delay was unfortunate for everybody, right? It was unfortunate for the end users that need capability. It wasn't ideal for military strategic headquarters, and it wasn't, and it certainly put pressure on defence industry, and I think probably SMEs felt that as much as everyone else.
Well, I think there was a lot of people disheartened, wasn't there, waiting for their purchase that they were going to get, and they've had long conversations, and to not get awarded anything is probably quite difficult. But that's now changing. So what we've also seen, I think, in the landscape is a lot of new companies now in the UK that are SMEs that are now being valued at quite significant sums, specifically in the autonomous space and AI and UAV and USV and all of that good stuff. With a couple of unicorns just recently, weird term, but that's what we'll go with it. It's what they call them. So you got Kraken, who's just had their valuation, and then Cambridge Aerospace just very recently.
Yeah, in the last 48 hours or so.
And I think that it's interesting times because they're not a prime, but they're now a prime. They're becoming a prime.
Yeah.
As in they are outsourcing now or working with or will need to work with SMEs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird scenario, isn't it? You got that trickle of money. So they would have probably prototyped and sold. I mean, I don't know the story inside out of everyone, but they could have maybe produced 100 vessels, right? So, and then all of a sudden they're worth $1 billion. They've got massive contracts for the military, and they've got to now go out to market to look at how they hit those delivery dates. And I think that's quite topical right now because we're seeing that more, and we're seeing people, as we've discussed, pitching more to those businesses and saying, well, how are you going to do this? Yes, you've won, great, you've done that, but how are you going to actually achieve it? So that's an interesting area for us where we can help quite a lot.
Yeah, it is, definitely. And the government have got smart to that as well, right? So they've realised that there's quite a sizable hole in the defence budget.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of, you look at the defence investment plan, you look at the strategy moving forward and the capabilities we need, that there's a delta there. So what they've actually started doing is doing a bit of, you know, matchmaking between VCs and SMEs within capability areas where they want to grow.
Yeah.
So that's quite an interesting development that I don't think they've historically done that in the past.
So you mean in terms of rather than outsourcing to whatever company in whatever part of the world, they're actually trying to have homegrown funded talent here.
Yeah.
Where pop-up happens like the two we mentioned, and there's a lot of others. And that money is then made available via VCs. I don't think necessarily the government are working with these VCs, but they're definitely putting attractive offers to these companies that make the VCs very interested in getting involved potentially. So they kind of, I guess the vetting is like, can you get money to back it? If we give you the orders, because they're definitely getting their money raised off the back of them getting significant orders. Yeah,
and they've started so Defence Innovation have started a venture builder program, and it's exactly that. If
buy this,
if they have a validated use case that they can see addressed by a certain technology or capability, they'll through the venture builder highlight that to VCs or people putting a team of VCs together, I think. So it's still very early days, but it's an exciting initiative.
Yeah, well, I think the UK industry is going to be built on for a while. A lot of this defence stuff will trickle down because economy wise, we're not manufacturing as much as we were, although it's increasing. But I think where there's government spend at the moment is definitely defence, and the more UK companies that can benefit from it, the better. And I think that's their plan really, is we'll spend, but we want it to stay, want them pounds to stay in the trickle down into the UK economy.
100%, yeah.
Which is great for us. So talk to me a little bit about what you've been looking into in terms of the areas for our products. Where do you think we sit in general? So I know we've got Cerberus, and everyone who doesn't know Cerberus should check Cerberus out because it's a very interesting product for defence. But kind of now you've had 4 months, what's the wider, what are you looking at opportunity-wise, and who are you working with, and who are you trying to talk to in general, not to be exact, but...
So in terms of it, from a personal perspective, I'm really dangerous at the minute. I've got a little bit of additive manufacturing knowledge, and that's what I think, like, I'm trying not to get cocky, because if I get cocky, that's where you slip up, right? I definitely know my limits from a technical perspective, but if we look at the whole life cycle of a capability, I think there's multiple points throughout that life cycle where we can really help. The first one's the rapid prototyping and iteration. Yeah. So let's not jump full leap forward to prototype warfare. What we can help is with probably other size businesses to ourselves. They've got an idea. They need to test and iterate that till they get to a minimum viable product, and we can really help with that because we can produce those low volume prototypes quickly, and we can help them change the design again at pace so that they get to that minimum viable product as quickly as possible. It's almost the first valley of death, isn't it, as you move forward? And then the second area of that is once they've got a minimum viable product and their leads and opportunities develop into projects and programs, we can then help them transition to that. And the benefit of working with us is it's twofold, right? If they haven't got the capital expenditure to go and buy a Zeus or an Apollo or a Medusa or a Cerberus, because it's really early days, we can provide those print services and prove the print on those platforms. And then as they grow, maybe get some VC cash from somebody, they can then invest in their own capability to bring production in-house, to give them more resiliency and to help them scale. Yeah. So I think that's really, in the early stages of a product life, that's really where we can help.
Yeah, and that's interesting for anyone who's doing anything at scale or trying to scale up. So we're looking at drones being a big area, especially some of the larger drones. The production of USVs is obviously another area, and that could be tooling for those. So actually producing the tooling for them to then lay up the fiberglass or the carbon fiber to produce the final part. Or it could be like printing a USV to test, or actually manufacturing that way. So printing your vessel up to a certain size and then chucking that in the water and seeing how it performs, which we've done ourselves, right, for people.
Yeah. But we have got to say at this stage, don't get in it. That's not recommended by Rapid Fusion.
No, some people do though. I've seen videos. Yeah, weird that is actually, but they did float, so we let them off. It's fine, no one drowned. But yeah, if you've got, I guess, like a sweeping view of what's going on, I think what we're seeing now is there's definitely an adoption of additive happening within the military. And they're looking at capabilities that they can have that are deployable, which is what Cerberus is. And we make no secrets of that. That's well documented. That's what we built it for. But then there's this, what applications can they utilize the technology for straight away? That's a big topic because some stuff you can print, no problem. It's low risk. It's not going to be, no one's going to get into trouble printing that part or whatever it is. And there's other bits that are probably not as easy to get over the line in terms of being able to print because there's some red tape around what you are and aren't allowed to replace in terms of, in a vehicle or on a piece of equipment that they're using. But where I think we see headway is that sort of bit in the middle, right? Where it's low risk, but there's a benefit to being able to produce them nearer to where you are. So it's weighing up that. It's not a defined yes or no, really, with parts. I think it depends what's happening at the time.
Yeah, and some people have focused on how do we additively manufacture safety critical parts?
Yeah,
I think they've bypassed a lot of low hanging fruit there. Like you say, what mass parts do you need? What's consumable that can be printed? what are the non-safety critical parts? You know, it's been well documented that that in the States Boeing have 3D printed a gearbox for an Apache helicopter.
Yeah.
That's amazing and shows the scope of what's achievable. But what can we be doing really quickly that could have a huge positive impact, because you're not having to shift a huge itinerary of parts closer to the front. Let's not say tactical, but closer to the front. What could you be printing in a divisional logistics support hub that would really take, you know, the mind off you take a load off the planning team, really.
Yeah, I think to start with, what will happen is, and what we're seeing is, they're going to want to print things that maybe don't come back, and we're seeing that a lot in Ukraine, right? So a lot of the, I think there's 1 million kills now with drones, and you know, Ukrainians have killed 1 million Russians with drones. So there's 1 million drones there without, and that's if all of them kill someone. So they're printing more than that.
Yeah.
They have to be printed. They can't be made any other way. So there's going to be things that force their hand into printing anyway. USV, we worked out that a 2 meter one-way, you know, vessel probably is going to be 3D printed. When you look at the weighing up manufacturing it in other ways, it would take too long. And so there is a forcing of the hand to say, well, you're going to have to figure this out, because this is the only way you're going to produce these. And whether you're doing it in a container like what we provide, or whether you have a facility, the closer to the front, the better. But ultimately, you still need to have options. And I was watching a video about how Ukraine turned loads of houses into 3D printing hubs. So they're actually like actively taking over houses and putting loads of 3D printers in them to be able to print drones. I kind of imagine like we would need potentially a massive centre somewhere in the UK at some point, where you've got that ability to turn it on if you needed it and go, right, we need a load of parts. And there is companies in the UK who could help with that, but there isn't lots of them. So even though additive's booming in terms of industry in general, and we see loads of 3D printed parts used in lots of stuff now outside of the military, especially in automotive as well, they are actively using 3D printing. There isn't a big enough centre that would need to produce millions of drones overnight. So I think there's twofold really. There's understanding how to utilise the technology, but then also having enough capability and see it as capability. Do we have 3D printing capability to the level that we need to be able to fight whatever that war might be that happens? And the answer right now is no.
Yeah,
it's no.
Yeah. And your point,
it could be changed very quickly, and I'm sure we'd gear up, but it's a no right now.
And it's interesting, right? It's if you had a single large facility, if you look at what's happening in Russia at the minute, the Ukrainians are going after the Russian Amazon, aren't they? Because they're saying, well, those big hubs are manufacturing and distributing.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting debate about how you develop the capability to produce the mass.
Yeah.
And it probably is a couple of large hubs, but they could potentially become strategic targets. But
it happened in World War II, right? They bombed any of the factories, really. They targeted factories.
Yeah.
Where we were manufacturing whatever it might be, weapons, it could have been, you know, planes, whatever it is, that they were actively targeting them. And actually, you know, in that war, it was about where we're going to get all these materials from. Materials become an issue. So supply of material to make a Spitfire or whatever it was at the time. Where's that metal coming from?
Yeah,
we ain't got enough of it. We're now running out of metal, and so polymer, again, another factor will be, if we look at this fast forward and we ever need this, would be to have a supply chain of polymer in the UK, which, again, there is supply here, but not at potentially the scale that would be required without shipping it from China, and a lot of it does come from China. A lot of the polymers come from China.
It's
especially raw material. Yeah.
It's interesting that we're relearning lessons from World War II, because the other lesson that I've heard crop up when I'm kind of listening to stuff and watching bits and pieces is the comparisons with the tank battle in World War II, and you can imagine people go, "Hang on a minute, what lesson are you taking from that to pull to now when everything's becoming uncrewed?" And it's the exquisite versus the good enough but mass. You know, arguably the Soviets created the Germans created a much better tank than the Americans and the Brits had, but we could make more of them. So even and it was really difficult for the Germans to get the volume of the tank, and actually the mass ran out. If you roll that forward to today, an example that we've talked about is a Pac 3 Patriot missiles, $3.7 million, I think. You can't keep the economics of warfare do not allow you to keep using that countermeasure to use on relatively cheap.
Well, they would do it. It happened in Israel, didn't it? Sorry, with Iran, and they were shooting down. They're spending a lot of money shooting down their drones. And they did a really good job, but they would have spent a fortune while those attacks were going on. And then you've got, Ukraine offering their design up, saying, look, we've got one that's $500 to $1,000 to make. Do you want the design? And we know it works because we're using it.
Yeah.
And so the cheapening of the speed of being able to make something and making it cheaper and less materials is going to win out.
Yeah, and that
there is need for high tech weaponry as well. Of course there is, and that's always going to have its place. But this is a sort of first long sort of drawn out war that we've had by two bordering countries. Yeah, and so that warfare is different. But I think that will become the way. All that we're seeing now, and the reason why the MOD and all of the nations are spending more money is they have to now have a new type of capability that they've not had to have before. AI wasn't a thing. Do you know what I mean? Very fast, powerful, small devices that can be controlled by and made cheaply were not a thing. These are all new areas of technology. So when it exists, you have to have a counter to it. Do you know what I mean? It's like the Indians and the say Indians and cowboys, but gun versus a bow and arrow. All of a sudden, you're going to go into arms and start producing more guns, right? Because you've now got something that can way outman what you had before, or outpower what you had before. So the swarming that's going on and all of that new technology that they're developing in terms of communications, and some of the new fighter jets that will go up, the fighter jets will go up and they'll have trailing drones with them that will effectively be sacrificial in some ways. If one country has it, effectively they all have to have it because you can't compete. So I think there's never been a time where, or not for a long time, where we've needed to advance the capability so quickly. In my opinion, I don't know what your thoughts are.
The rate of change is phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
The proliferation of autonomy and uncrewed stuff is huge.
So in terms of where we go from here and what we're doing at the moment, I think it's fair to say it's been a bit of a roadshow of demonstration of our capability, taking Cerberus to site, spending time with people, educating them on what it can do, and then really getting feedback on what they need. How far close do you think it is to what they need?
So we've definitely validated the use case, right? And it goes across multiple areas. The uncrewed space that we've talked a lot about. Also the ability to increase platform availability. So spares, restocking of consumable items, all of that it is really good. And then a bit of obsolescence management piece in there as well. So legacy platforms where it's maybe not as easy to get the parts. Maybe if you're working with if you're working with a host nation and they've got platforms that you need to help them maintain, and they haven't got the spare parts. So that's really, really important. We've had loads of great feedback with Cerberus. One of the areas that I've been really impressed with is the work that we've been doing with Fleet Command Center.
Yeah,
So the ability to network multiple manufacturing nodes, command them and control them from a single point. Make it, if we've got network availability, obviously there'll be scenarios out there where the users won't have network connectivity, but it's a game changer really, and it will take a few individual nodes away from being just that to an enterprise level capability that could do so much more as a collective, I think.
Yeah, I think I found that there's sort of two options in the market. There's us for containerised manufacturing, and then there's the HP system that's out there. Obviously, two different roads of thought, right, of how to go about it. I think the HP stuff's fantastic if it's in a building, not moving around, and you have like a production line of them, and they're really good. I mean, they're ideal for sort of large batch production. Different technology, runs on powder, uses a laser, and effectively is a very well tried and tested piece of kit, but doesn't lend itself well to traveling. And so the product that the thing on the market that's out there that we're sort of seeing pop up is a much bigger footprint, takes a lot longer to assemble, and isn't likely to be something that you could pack up in a hurry. Or you can, but it's a big effort to move it around. Ours is very true to what we sort of said we would do, which is make something that can stay really where it is. It could be on the back of a lorry if it needs to be. It is one power connector, and everything else is contained within it. So air feed, filtration, heating, lights, screen, computer, everything's all built into it. And then with that, obviously, we're really using three different sort of disciplines, right? We've got filament, pellet for fast extrusion, filament for detailed and fast printing, and then CNC for cutting, milling, drilling holes, whatever it might be. So you're covering a lot of bases. I think when they see it, they get their head around there's a lot that can be done. I mean, we've printed USVs that assemble that are 2 meters on the within only like 8 hours. So a 2 meter USV in 8 hours that could then also be flipped and mounted and cutouts put into it, and within 12 hours you could have a new vessel popping off the production line. From that to printing interceptor drones 4 in a row or 5 in a row on a bed, to printing long wings and all sorts of different stuff. I think the versatility of the product is amazing, and if it's a case of you've got a problem you want to solve, and this is gonna get used by different teams doing different missions, doing different things, the product stacks up. I don't think the HP product is going to solve as many problems, but would be great if you want to produce a lot of something as a factory. But I don't see that factory being deployable, in my opinion. So I think you've had conversations with the MOD. Where do you think they're at with that train of thought?
So I think it's fair to say we are more deployable, right? We've spoken to end users that are like, well, I'm not even going to bother putting Cerberus on the deck. I'm just going to park up somewhere because I can only afford to be there for a short period of time, and I'm just going to plug it in, and I'm going to let the bed self level, and then we're going to let it crack on the, like you said, on the back of the truck. The fact that it's got those, it's got different heads in it as well, so you can print fine detail. If you need to get a lot of material down because you're printing something that's strong and robust, you can do that as well. And again, like you touched on the milling. I think the other thing as well is coming back to our as being an SME and as being agile is we own that end-to-end process and we own our technical roadmap. So, you know, we can sit down with our customers and learn what their requirements are now and what their future requirements are, and then we can include that into our technical roadmap.
Yeah.
So that, you know, and as we build that catalog up of new features and what's coming next, we can make sure that not only we stay ahead, but the customer stays ahead as well.
Yeah. No, I agree, because HP's not likely to develop a new machine specifically for containers. No, they might. We've put it out there now. They might do it. Who knows? Not quickly, I don't think. So yeah, we would argue that everything's been designed with that in mind, that with a user in mind, really. So I think they've got a good product.
Yeah,
I know they have, but
and we know it's robust, right? You know, if we go next door today, there's some fairly hefty dents in the
yeah.
In Cerberus, and there's more to follow. You know, we're gonna keep pushing the envelope, try and get it into more demanding environments.
Yeah, we'll have some news at some point of some good testing that's going on, which is exciting. So it will go and have some field testing, and obviously we have been pushing it consistently, and it's been moved around quite a lot now. It's been to Germany and back, and you know, had no issues. I think it's good. We'll see. I'm not sounding confident, am I? I am confident. It's very good products. I want to see it tested harder. I want to see it go on to more vessels, and actually want to see more ideas of what the end user wants to produce on it, because that's really where the power is that consultation with the end user.
Yeah.
I think when you buy into our technology roadmap, you don't just get the technology roadmap, but you get us to help them get the most out of it. And being in the UK, we're in a really good position to be able to continually work with them. A lot of these bases aren't far from where we are. They pop in, you know, they can have a coffee, they can talk through what they're trying to do, and that's invaluable. So what's next? What we thinking? What's coming up? Is there anything exciting we should be talking about or not? Or is it all hush hush until it's announced? There's some hush hush stuff going on.
There's definitely at least 2 or 3 podcasts in the making where we can really talk about where we're going to go next. But you know, you'll see us around. Come and see Cerberus if you pass in.
That's important as well. Come and have a look. People haven't appreciated it until they've seen it in the flesh.
Yeah. And it doesn't do it justice, right? Because when I say Jake's put a 3D printer in an ISO container, trust me when I say he's not bolted it to a desk. It's impressive. So
you bolt a table to the floor and then the printer to the table, and that's your system. No, it's not. It's going to be amazing to see as well. More production of that kit and what we can do to tweak it more, to make it do more things. With more use cases comes more challenges, but from the challenges you can develop more options. So I think we're getting into, we'd like to see some interesting applications going through it with any of our users, end users or OEMs who are looking at doing something crazy. Or even if it's not crazy, but they want to figure out how to produce it quicker.
Yeah.
That's something we welcome, because they probably haven't got the idea of how to make. They've made it how they made it at the time, potentially, and then someone's gone and ordered it, and they've got to make 1,000 of them, and they're like, "Shit, how do I do it?"
And we've got a nice problem, right?
Yeah.
Next generation Cerberus. Are we talking more metals? Are we talking bigger structures?
Yeah.
Are we talking smaller, faster? There's
all of those things we have plans for.
We do.
Yeah. Well, I think for your first attempt of a podcast, you've done all right. We'll have you on again, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just won't talk about IP again, though.
Not IP. IP law and rumours. No. But thank you. And I look forward to the next one. Cheers.